reach for my pound when I pick up the blunt. It's hard to put it down. The northern lights keeps me high as kites. Got a stupid fat collection of bonds, bowls, and pipes.
What's good, people? Let's pop up in here and do a little, I think we'll start a little stoner school series maybe. This will be episode 1. And we'll talk a little bit about lighters and impurities and better ways to light your flower. I'm talking about like Hempwick versus Butane. So we'll give a little talk about that. I'm going to give a little taste on some wild berry runts real quick just to start her off. Alright, yeah, Shop Hella Mary ain't playing around. So, the video is kind of going to be in response to a comment someone left. And we'll show the comment, not going to show the dude. Which, you know, everybody's got their own opinion on different things. You know, we can always come in things friendly. Especially to people we don't know. Without, you know, sarcasm and all of that type of stuff. But, you know, I made a video a while back on using the heat rod. Which you take the heat rod, you light it up with your, you know, with your torch lighter. And then you just put the heat to your bowl. You just put the heat off the glass to the bowl. It's just heat transfer. So there's no butane, there's nothing involved except when you're heating up the torch. So, this gentleman, I guess, believes that there's more impurities and pollution that's going to come from your torch than using a Hempwick. Which, this isn't Hempwick, but this is hemp string, this is hemp twine. Which all they do is basically take this and then put beeswax over it, and then you got your Hempwick. So it burns slower with the beeswax, otherwise this would burn real quick. So, we'll peep out what my man thinks real quick. And he says, you know, I don't need to post the whole thing, but he says, don't want to inhale fumes, use a glass rod. And he's saying it sarcastically, like, don't want to inhale fumes, use a glass rod, just burn 15 times as much butane in an enclosed space to not inhale the fumes. I don't know about this one, seems kind of goofy compared to Hempwick. So, my man thinks Hempwick is cleaner than 11 times purified butane, or butane with 0 impurities. So, we'll take a little look, because you can AI this stuff. You know, we all got AI at this point. And it tells you, you know, pretty easily what the differences are and which might be better for you. Alright, so let's take a look at this, because we all want to be having the right information, smoking right, smoking better, smoking easier, smoking cleaner. So we'll look at what they say on this. When choosing an ignition source for medical cannabis, the primary trade-off is between the organic plant particulates produced by burning Hempwick and the trace gas emissions, metallurgic dust produced by starting a butane lighter. From a chemical perspective, highly purified butane gas burns significantly cleaner in terms of particulate matter, whereas Hempwick burns cooler, preserving delicate cannabis terpenes and cannabinoids at the cost of releasing plant smoke. So, when they're talking about particulate matter from a butane lighter, they're essentially talking about more so this. When you do that strike, there's little metal particulates that you're kind of grinding off every time when you do that. So that's a different story. Same thing with a big style lighter. So, we'll go a little more into the pollution comparison profile. Pollution breakdown by source. 11 times purified butane lighters, which that's what this is, 11 times purified. means the liquid gas has been filtered multiple times to remove heavier hydrocarbons, oils, and chemical impurities that create a bad chemical taste. When fully ignited, pure butane undergoes clean combustion. The chemical reaction yields only carbon dioxide and water vapor. If you have incomplete combustion, that's a different story. At the moment you strike the lighter, a brief burst of raw, unburnt butane gas escapes before the flame stabilizes. This incomplete combustion creates trace amounts of carbon monoxide. So your lighter's lighting right away. They're talking about a brief second if you're sputtering out gas. You know, there's not much of a time frame there to sputter out anything. Using standard flywheel lighters creates a hidden pollutant. Striking the flint wheel releases microscopic airborne particles of cerium and lanthanum directly into the path of your inhalation. So, that's these. And even with these, you don't want to suck the flame right into your bud. You really only need to keep it just over your bud. You don't need to suck it in there and just inhale off of the heat bubble around the flame. That's a little cleaner method in that respect. And then when we get on to Hempwick, Hempwick is frequently marketed as the all-natural or chemical-free alternative, but natural materials still obey the laws of physics and chemistry. Burning a solid organic material creates complex biomass smoke, particulate matter, and ash. Because Hempwick is a solid plant fiber, it cannot achieve perfect combustion the same way 11-X-butane can. It achieves visible soot, micro ash, and carbonaceous particulate matter into the air and into your lungs. Biomass combustion generates a broad profile of organic pollutants. Medical studies on hemp plant materials show that burning the fiber releases carbon monoxide, nitric oxide, and biologically significant concentrations of toxic carbonyls like formaldehyde and acetaldehyde. So we didn't see any of that with the butane lighter. The wax coating acts as a fuel source similar to the candle. When burned, it adds the long-chain carbon particles and organic soot to the smoke profile. So the beeswax that they put on the hemp rope adds more soot and carbon particles on top of the rope itself. Then it gets into what they would recommend for medical users. Ideally, using a button-activated torch or ignition rather than a flint wheel is medically cleaner for your lungs. Patients, for terpene profile, they say Hempwick because it's a smaller flame, little controllable. But if we're talking about clean, the cleanest they say is an electronic dry herb vaporizer. But if we're talking Hempwick versus a lighter, here's what happens if you burn hemp rope. Let's see. Hopefully we don't set anything else on fire. But you see the smoke, you see the ash, the soot, you know, you're burning something physical here. The 11-X-butane, if you're using like a Ronson butane, that's a little different, like a one that's not barely purified. You know, you want to use an ultra purified butane, and you know, you're not putting off any harmful pollutants like you are with Hempwick or you are with a regular butane lighter. So what my friend was talking about, I'm not quite sure. You know, we're trying to get the best ways to do things, and we can always offer each other little tips and tricks and all of that good stuff. But you know, we got AI these days. So you can just pop on AI and it gives you pretty good answers, pretty good sources. And yeah, we'll all be smoking cleaner after that. Y'all be good. Take it light. Peace.